Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. So this is part 3 video on Angular 14 using Angular Material UI library, a CRUD sample. Our main goal is to implement the create operation. Okay, so for that let's create a new Angular component like add student. Okay, let me open the terminal. Okay, command is like ng generate component, right? We want to create component and name of the component add student, and I don't want any text files, so skip text. And component got created. We can check in the folders. So here is our new component. Now let's configure route for it in the app routing module. Okay, so here let's define new object and path. I will specify path like add student. Okay, this is my path, and component I want to map with add student component. Now in our student service file, let's implement our post API because create means post, right? HTTP post request we have to invoke for create the new item. So let's implement it. So go to student service. Here let me create a new method like create and observable. It can check for newly created record. Okay, return this dot http client dot post. So this post method automatically invokes the http post request. Okay, and it's going to return single student, and we are going to use same URL. If you have any doubts how to frame the URL, you can check the uh, JSON server documentation. Okay, so I simply copy this URL and add it here. And post means payload should be passed, right? So that means this method should contain the payload as an input parameter of type student. Okay, and this payload must be passed as a second parameter here. Okay, so that is our create method. Now let's go to our add component.html and try to frame the form. Okay, so let me create a queue and add class like container. Okay, now let's try to add the React material form fields, Angular React material form fields. Okay, so in the material website, go to components and look for forms. Okay, so here you can see the form field and go to one of the example. So these are all the different styles of input fields. Okay, so here I am going to take this outlined way of text box. Okay, so let's view this code. Okay, and let me copy this mat form field. Okay, so let me add it here. So this is the mat form field. From here I want mat label and input normal input element, and that register with the mat input. Okay, and I don't want any icon inside of the text box. I remove it, and I don't want any hint also. Okay, so here I am using mat form field, right? So we have to import the mat form field module into our app component. So if I go to API tab, here is the module we have to import. So copy this app module and import the mat form field. So here we imported the mat form field, but here we need to import one more material module, that is mat input. Here using the mat input attribute, right? So to use it, we have to import the input related module. So for that you have to search like put field, I think. Yes, and in the API copy this. And in our app module, let's import this as well. Okay. So what is that? Mat input module. Mat input module. Okay. So this is one form field, right? Now let's remove the placeholder. Okay, and remove the name label also. And what are the fields I required? First name, last name, gender, and the age. Okay. So copy this 2 times. Okay. And here I can specify like label like first name. Okay. Last name and age I want to be a number, so type equal to text. Okay. Now I want to add a drop down for the gender. Okay. For that I can go here and check for select. Okay. So go for here. Let's select one of the example. Okay. Yeah. Let me select this mat select element. Okay, but I want this kind of effect, so I copy this mat form field and wrap it around it. Okay, so now let's remove this form control and error matcher. Okay, and remove the mat options as well. And I want the label, so add a label inside of this and mention like gender. Since it is a another component, we have to import its namespace. So go to API and copy the mat select module import and go to our app module. Okay, import here and import into our array. Okay, now let's change the values like male, 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 female. Okay, those are the mat options. And if I check my website, okay, this is our home page, but I want to check the output in my add students. For that, let's search with the route. Okay, we are seeing or add student, but instead of searching in the URL, I would like to add a button on the top of the table. So on clicking on that button, I will add a functionality to navigate from our home page to add student form. Okay, so for that, in all components, sorry, in all students component HTML, let's add a button here. Okay, so let's get the button from our material website. Go and look for a button. So here is the button, and here there are several examples. So instead of a button, I can choose for a link, because link means directly anchor tag, directly I can navigate. Okay, instead of writing a click event and its method, I will choose to write a link. So I'm going to use this link button, but with primary color. Okay, so just copy this anchor tag. Okay, and add it here and remove the href, but I want color to be primary. So what I will do, I will copy the color, okay, and add it as an attribute. Now I can use Angular router link, okay, and I can specify the path, add student. Okay, if I check, okay, here link we are seeing, but there is no button effect. That is because we haven't imported the button module. Okay, let me import the button module. So go to app module, import the button and import it into the imports array. And now check. Now here you can see nice button, but I want it to display at the center. So what I will do, I will wrap it around a div. So all students will create a div, okay, and move our button inside of this div. Okay, now copy these classes and add it here. Okay, if I check, now it's little better, right? And let's change the label to add student. Okay. Okay. Now if I click on this add student, I have to navigate to my add student form. See, I'm successfully navigating to the my add student form. But here form is not aligned perfectly, right? So let's try to align it. Okay. So now the form elements are coming side by side, right? So now what I will do, so go to add student component and first all these content, let's move inside of one more div. Okay. Let's move each form field inside of a div, separate div, so that they can be come one by one linely. Okay. Okay. Now if I check, now fields are coming one after one another in a line. Okay. In add component.css file, I will create a class like form element. Okay. And I will give width to some 500 pixels. Okay. So let me add this class to every form control. Okay. So class, let's check first. Yes, my text box is resized. Now let's add same class field to my all form fields. Okay. Now if I check the form, now somewhat better. Let me give some padding here between the form and the menu. For that, go to add student component.cs. Here, let me add one more style class. Okay, like add student container, and I will give some padding 20 pixels. Okay. Now let's add this class to my top level div. Okay. We got some padding. Now here let me add some form heading with h3 tag. Okay. And I will name it like add a new student. Okay. And let give some style like text align center. Okay. And now here at the bottom, I need to add a button, right? So let's go to our material website. Okay. And let me take this button. Okay. So let's click here to view the code and copy this button. Okay. Add it here and name it like add button. I want this button type should be a button. Okay. Now if I check the output, okay, now our form looks like this. Now what I will do, I'm going to add a material card as a background to this form to give nice box effect. So for that, let's go to card component. Okay. First, let's import the namespace. Okay. Copy this and go to our app module. Okay. Let's import the card here and import the mat card module into our imports. Let's copy the card element. Okay. So this is the element. So go to our add student component.html. Okay, inside of this div, add it, and now cut our all form field code. Okay, and move it inside of the material card. Now save it, and if I check the output, now our form little better, right? Nice box effect. That is because of the Angular card we are using. Okay. Now let's enable the form model binding with our Angular component. Okay. So let's go to our add student component.ts file. Okay. And let's declare a form variable like student form. Okay. This is of for type student. So let's assign initial values. So initially for a new record ID will be 0. Okay. Age will be empty. And here age should be a number. Okay. First name will be empty. And last name will be empty, and the gender by default I will give male. Okay. Now I am going to map this form model with the our HTML form. For that I can use ng model, which is a template binding. Okay. So on the input field I can write like open square brackets and inside of it circular brackets and specify like ng model. To this model we have to see I am assigning for the input field. Okay. So to this model I can give my form variable. So student form dot, this is for first name, right? Assign it. Okay. Like that all form fields must be registered with their individual form property. Here this should be last name. Okay. And here this should be age. Sorry, age. Okay. And here we have to bind it for match select element. Okay. There is input, no input field here. So here and specify like gender. Okay. Here we are getting some red line error, right? That is because we have to import the, so we have to import the form module into our app module because we are using ng model, right? So go to app module and import the form module here. So form module, okay, forms module, and that loads from the Angular forms. Now if we go to our add student component.html, that red line error is gone. Okay, now save everything and check the output. See, now here we are getting some default data, empty fields, and here 0, and here you can see male automatically binded. Okay, that is because we have given default value as male in our TS file. Okay, so now here for this button I have to register a click event, and to that event we have to register method in our add component.ts file. So here what I will do, here I will create a method in our add student component.ts. Okay, so let's inject our service. So private student service, so student service. Okay, this dot student service dot create. So to this create method, I can directly input my student form variable as a input payload. Okay. So then subscribe. So now on successfully saved the data, I want to navigate back to my home page. So for that, I have to inject one router service like, okay, router. Okay, that loads from the React Angular router library. Okay, now using that router, this dot router dot navigate and open square brackets inside of specify the path. My home page, right? Simply slash is enough. Okay. And now we have to register this create method into our button click event. So for registering the click event, you have to open the circular braces and mention the name of the event like click and register the method. So that's it. I think we are good to create a new item. Okay, let's check. So let's come back to our home page again. Okay, now click on the add student. Now open inspect elements. Okay, now let me add a new record. Okay, okay, and mail. I'm clicking the add button. See, immediately I navigate to back to my home page, and here you can see the new record. If I go to my network calls, okay, the first record will be, see here, post request creating for the new record, and here is the payload I am sending, and you can see the response, and with ID equal to 3, this is auto generated by the server. That means the record is successfully created. Okay, so that's all about create operation in Angular 14 using material UI library. Okay, next we are going to focus on update operation. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video delivered some useful content to you all. If you like my video, please do support me by liking the video as well as by subscribing to my channel. Soon we are going to meet with new videos. Until then, signing off.